Hey everybody, welcome back to Stand By for Tones podcast. I'm Isaac, and with me today, our favorite guy.
Hello.
Mr. Sam Schwab. How we doing, bud?
Good, man. You know, just chilling more than anything. Today's been a kind of a whirlwind of a day. We did a lot with business the last couple days, and, you know, talked to a couple students, tried to get some more people some help. It's been a good day. Can't complain.
Yeah.
Chased around a toddler all day.
Did.
Yeah.
Sure.
Crazy, man.
Yep, we got our last episode of the podcast out today.
Yeah, which is
So,
good.
It's good. Hopefully you guys go watch that. Make sure you check out all of our stuff, actually. We'll run through that real quick. Go to standbyfortones.com where you can find all of our critical care education available for paramedics, nurses. Get your critical care cert today.
Yeah, man. It's exciting. And, you know, the projects that we got coming up, I'm really excited about more than anything because, you know, we're really starting to crack down on our EMT education and seeing what we can do for people. So that'll be really exciting for the, you know, the days to come. It's really surprisingly difficult.
It is, I know.
On, you know, remembering how limited our scope was in the beginning of our career. And that is really hard for me to embrace when, you know, putting refresher education together and like, you know, you want to give them all this really badass education and bring them up to the highest level possible when that's not really the case.
Correct. I mean, it's hard to do, right?
Yeah.
It was just like, I mean, we were at SIFA not too long ago and doing those lectures and having to break that down, I guess, to some of the lower levels for EMS. So bringing it down to the EMT level, looking at your different treatment plans, and it's like, oh man, okay, what else can I say about this?
Yeah, I mean, like one of the big things. I mean, like you talked about it in I think it was in your lecture, AAA management. Basically, I mean, it's just like recognize the pulsatile mass in your abdomen and all mass. I mean, like that's the nuts and bolts to it. I mean, besides taking blood pressures and things like that, but
correct. So a lot of it is, you know, interventions aren't going to be as strong, right, or do as much, but I think focusing on recognition, is probably one of the most important things, and just being able to have good assessments. Yeah. So, and that's true not only for basic EMT, but same
every
thing with
level,
paramedic, critical care, right? I mean, it's one of my favorite things. Like when I go do clinicals for like ER rotations and stuff like that, and even ICU, is hanging out with a doc, is watching their assessments. Yeah. So,
and sometimes it's surprisingly minimal.
Sometimes, a lot of times I see them they'll do the same exact thing. Yeah. Doesn't matter if, you know, what it's for, but they run through that checklist. Yeah. Of, okay, you know, head to toe, doing reflexes, doing all the things. And it's just getting a good overall assessment. So,
no, I completely agree. And, you know, it's just one of those things that's frying my brain right now. But I'm glad to be here right now and get out of that realm of lecture writing for a few minutes and, you know, get to talk to the cool people of the world right now.
That's right.
Put ourselves out there. I got my favorite, my shirt on. I'll save the name of what I call this shirt, but it's got my dancing shirt on, and life's good. So what are we going to talk about? What do you want to start off with?
I think we should start off with the fact that your toenails are painted pink today, but
man,
freaking me out.
Dude, being a girl dad is like the coolest thing ever because like if I want a pedicure, like she wants to sit there and like paint my toenails, go for it. Like as long as it's not on the walls, shit, it's just fine.
That's right.
Yep.
That's funny.
Yeah, I got hot pink, you know, I call them my motocross toenails right now.
Toenails. Well, that's probably a good segue, actually, to our first topic. One of the things that we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
Big kind of debate going on. Lots of people up in arms. I don't know if anybody watches motocross. I do. I mean, I do now. I have been actually this year, first year. I've really been watching it for a long time, only because my pilot likes to watch it. But talking about the Forkner crash.
Yeah, man.
That was a heck of a crash on the...
Dude, I feel for that guy because I crashed really hard. That's what ended my amateur motocross riding era, was a bad crash that landed me in the ICU on a vent with a pulmonary embolism. I was on a vent for like 14 days in St. Luke's downtown ICU. I got flown by our company when I was younger. And, that was back in 2010. And I think I've been on a 2-wheel death trap maybe twice since
then.
Yeah. So I stick to the pedal powered ones now. Not like they're any safer, but, I feel for that guy because he ate shit hard.
Oh, he did. And I feel really bad because he was point leader and he was in the lead of the race.
Yeah, he wasn't
very long to go.
I don't think he was crying because he was in pain. I think he was crying because he knows that all of his points were just gone at that point.
Yeah, he's done for the season.
Yeah. And the fact that, he ate shit flat-backed on concrete.
Yes, he did. So a lot of the debate and big talk on that we were looking at today and discussing and decided to talk about it tonight was just a lot of, I guess, armchair quarterbacking of how the EMS crews or the safety crews there basically took care of him. It shows a picture after the race is pretty much done of him getting up. They have him walking over to go sit on the little 4x4 to drive him off, and C collar on, they're walking him down. And so there was a lot of debate on how he needed to be on a backboard and strapped down and all this stuff. So
here I got the video to refresh our minds here. It took me a minute to find it, but let's take a second and watch this.
He kept them steady, and here it is.
From the time that he hit that he was donezo.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Could you imagine if he wasn't wearing protective gear?
Oh no. I see it all the time.
But look at it. Let's get to the comment section because I feel bad that a lot of these people are being absolutely roasted. But, maybe we can squash some of this.
Maybe
not. I don't know. But, okay, I had to redirect to a different comment page, but okay, I cannot believe they had him walking. That's like the best. It's not the best thing, but it's a great sign that he's not really, really messed up.
Yeah. His spinal cord is intact, folks.
Yes, that is very true. Okay, let's see. Was the dude crying? I'm sure he was.
He was crying. That was actually watching the video, the crash and all of that, that's what I felt the most bad about.
Yeah.
Was now he has pictures of him crying on TV for the rest of his life.
I got to pull up the other comment section. That one's not working, but
I was actually watching this last night with my family. I was showing my son, I'm like, hey, let's go watch some motocross, watch some wrecks. I want to show you this.
Yeah.
And he was all over it. He's 6 years old, so he thought it was awesome.
Oh, that's funny.
But I was just watching that whole thing, the replays. I was like, that's the most painful for me right there, is watching him just like that, just horrible, sad, teary-eyed face right there. But
all right. Okay, back to our comments here.
Okay.
Walking with a neck collar is a very questionable decision. Have you ever been to your local Walmart recently?
Local.
Or local Walmart recently, and seen the amount of people that have slipped in pee-pee and have that little soft collar on? We see people do that every day. That's where the Nexus protocol comes into. Correct. Because there are times that the whole idea behind the Nexus program was you're going to put more C collars on, but you're going to backboard a whole lot less people. And it got us to get out of rapid extrication with a backboard, because we're going to manipulate the shit out of them, trying to rapid extricate them with a backboard or a KED. And the fact that these people can get out on their own and maintain their own manual inline stabilization and position of comfort, that is the name of the game right there.
It is.
And so that whole thing, walking around with a neck collar, we see people do it every day. There are people out there with fractured necks walking around in a soft collar.
Mm-hmm.
They send you home with some form of back brace to walk around in. Gone. Debunked. Then the following comments are I agree. They should have not have let him walk. He should have been immobilized on a stretcher. I agree more with the stretcher aspect.
Yeah.
not necessarily the backboard more than anything, because backboards have been proven to cause harm.
They are, and they're just uncomfortable and evil.
Yeah. And how many seconds does it take to get the formation of like a bed sore or a decubitus ulcer?
I forget. I know it's
30
quick.
seconds, 30 seconds to get that tissue breakdown. Like, takes no time at all. So if you don't have a back raft on, and I'm not going to sit there with a freaking balloon animal pump balloon, and yes, that I'm sure that is going to make it into the edit there.
Yes, it is.
Balloon animal pump. But a balloon animal pump balloon, pumping up a back raft on scene and taking my time in these situations when I need to be taking care of my patient. Like, is it the right thing? Is it the wrong thing? I don't know. I
didn't mind the back rafts when we had them. I liked them, definitely. The patients liked them a lot more. Than a hard, just a hard backboard. But no, I have, my opinion on all of this.
Yeah.
But
we talked about this a little bit before, and we'll get into that a little bit more.
We'll get a little more into it. But
more than questionable, they should consider mechanism of injury. Look at that mechanism of injury.
Oh my gosh, look at that mechanism.
Okay, what do we got here? Holy, look at that mechanism of injury. Why isn't she C-spined yet?
Oh.
Love it.
If you haven't seen the mechanism of injury video, it's so good. But that mechanism of injury does play into this.
Correct.
I mean, it does. But it doesn't change the fact that if they don't have any pinpoint centralized back pain, a gross abnormal deformity or something like that, then they don't need immobilization. Like,
correct.
The time, I mean, like, it's built out for us. Like, if they meet this criteria, you put a C collar on. If they meet this criteria, you put a backboard on.
Yep.
And the amount of times that it meets the criteria for backboard is like 0.5%.
Yeah.
Like, and even at that point, I will probably do a scoop stretcher to a soft stretcher.
Correct.
And, for 2 hours on a scoop stretcher or something like that to our nearest, out of state trauma center, or 45 minutes away to our in-state trauma center, it's going to be fine. We'll be fine. I'm sure I'm going to get roasted for a lot of this, but I mean, people have to hear it.
No, that's okay. Because like I said, in my opinion, I mean, I hate C-collars. That's one of my biggest, hate it absolutely, right? One of my goals in life is to eliminate C-collars. But, I mean, will it ever happen? No, because unfortunately it's the standard of care, right?
Yeah. So we have to do it. It's the worst standard of care,
right?
Well, not the worst, but I mean, it's right up there.
No, it's ridiculous. And then, I mean, you look at how much people are charged for it all too. That's a different story. But no, I hate C-collars because, I mean, you slap them on everybody, and then they just get thrown away, right?
Yep.
I don't know. There's a few times that I like a C-collar, right? 2 times that I think that I like a C-collar. Number 1 is for some of our intubated patients.
Yeah.
It's great.
100%.
It's great. Keeps their head in line, keeps them from moving, especially like pediatrics.
Yeah.
I will put a little pediatric C-collar on a kid.
Yeah, or a towel roll or something.
Just to keep their head right in line there, right? Not even left and right, but especially up and down. Some of these little peds, I mean, remember, especially if you're not using a cuff tube, and just them moving their head up and down can dislodge that tube. So I think it's important on those guys for sure. But the other time is, I mean, when I truly think I have a cervical injury.
Yeah.
Truly think or I know, I'm like, oh, yeah, they got a broken neck.
They got to step off. They're holding their head. They've got a dens fracture or something like that, like internal decapitation.
And if you haven't had one, I mean, there's patients that they broke their neck. Like you feel their head, you're holding C-spine, you're just like, ooh, wow, because a lot of times their head's moving around, right? Most patients, you're holding C-spine, sure, you're supposed to hold it perfect. It never is perfectly still. It moves around. But there's times when you have somebody with a broken neck, you're like, wow, this neck's jacked.
Yeah.
Right?
Muscle spasms, pain.
When we put that collar on, right? That's not a slap a collar on.
No.
Okay, that's 10 minutes to make sure that stupid thing is on correctly. 'Cause,
Incorrectly
they don't
placed
fit.
C collars. You want to talk about triggering Isaac?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure 90% of C collars that get put on are put on wrong, right? They're not sized appropriately. They never fit right. So when you have that true C-spine injury, and actually getting that collar on, cutting away clothes, getting hair out of the way, getting debris and all the stuff out so that you can fit that on there tight and right and make sure it's, again, positioned appropriately so it's actually going to do anything. It takes a minute.
Oh, no, man. I 100% agree with you because I am just as guilty as, having clothing trapped underneath a C collar, ear trapped within the C collar. Like if your ears are trapped inside, like you have a not appropriately sized C collar. Like,
correct.
That's just part of like, I think it got to the point in our, in our treatment plans as we, developed in the EMS world that it was just kind of like we're going to just put this on just to say we did.
Yes.
And it shouldn't be like that. Like if we're going to do it, we need to do it right 100% of the time.
Correct.
And, I moved from an agency where we didn't have rigid C collars because, they had supporting data where, it increases the strain in neck muscles.
Yep.
It, increases intracranial pressure by not allowing for venous draining. They're uncomfortable. They cause, the discomfort will, cause for, patients to get uncomfortable on a ventilator or anything like that. And there's a whole host of things. Like if you got facial trauma, jaw trauma, something like that, it's just not the right, or I guess it's not the best option.
Correct.
And, what they did is they transitioned to a soft collar, which I loved. It wasn't like the fancy Aspen. It was just the regular Walmart donut, C collar. And we got a lot of pushback from a lot of big trauma surgeons.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, it was fun, man.
I bet.
It was so much fun saying, here's the phone number for our medical director. You can send him any comments, concerns, or complaints. Like, have at it more than anything. But it was great because they were perfect for immobilizing for endotracheal tubes.
Yep.
They kept our patients comfortable, and you didn't have to how many times have you gone on a patient and you're going to say, I have to put this hard collar on you. I know it's going to be uncomfortable. And they're like, no, why do we need that? Blah, 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 blah. If you show them this nice little soft foamy thing, they were like, oh yeah, that's cool. That'll support my neck. That's pretty nice.
Yeah. And then it's just a little simple reminder. Hey, don't move your neck around. Cool.
Hear that squeak?
I did.
Yeah. I'm trying to raise this up so I don't have to be all hunchbacked over here. I'm trying to sit up more these days. Okay.
You're okay.
So, the C collar thing is just, I feel bad for these guys that were on the lines helping this rider out that was in a really crappy situation, a shitty wreck, feels terrible, and they're just roasting them. And
they are. And something to remember, like, first of all, I don't know how the track's set up.
Yeah.
I don't know what you can get in there.
Yeah.
They had the 4x4 in there, but I don't know how far it goes and what they had to do to actually get him out of there, right? Sure, there's always a way to get somebody out. They could carry him out, sure.
Yeah.
Right, great. But you didn't question him.
Yeah.
You didn't assess him, right?
Yeah.
You didn't know what's going on with him as far as, yes, he can move all of his extremities or not, what actually hurts or not. What kind of gear is he actually wearing? Because it looked like he had some protective gear on besides the helmet.
I think they are required to wear. I saw some things in there like, back in my day of racing, like we had chest protectors and all these things. It's like that, all that stuff's built in underneath their main jersey. Like they're still wearing it. The technology has just gotten so much better that it's not a big bulky piece of plastic from the early 2000s.
Correct.
Like, they have to wear this gear, and most of them are wearing horse collars to keep their neck stable and things like that. And even if not, their helmet comes down far enough to touch their pads enough to, keep it from having some dramatic change. But the whole C collar thing is just it's a hard topic because a lot of people and backboard, not necessarily the C collars, the backboards are a hard topic because so many people have seen it.
It is, and it's always hard to change what you're used to.
Yeah.
Right? Doing things a different way. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We grew up in EMS as far as like when we started, you're doing C collars and backboards on everybody, right?
Yeah.
So getting rid of the backboards for hopefully everybody, obviously not some people.
Yep.
looking at the conversations going on, right?
Look at that mechanism of injury.
But no, I mean, backboards have their place, and it's usually for moving people, and getting them out of a difficult extrication is typically the only time that I'm using a backboard.
Yeah. And, I think it's funny because, I mean, we carry the state minimum required amount of backboards because it used to be like you have to have 4 backboards on every ambulance. And now it's like you need a scoop stretcher and a backboard that's going to collect dust for the rest of eternity. And we have an entire trailer at one of our main bases filled to the brim with 150 backboards that are never going to get used again. We might as well start turning them into benches and selling them.
I agree.
Like if they were the wood ones, that'd be super cool.
Right.
But,
no, we have where I used to work, ski snowboard place. That's what we do. The old snowboard, just turn them into benches.
Oh, that's cool.
We just turn them into benches.
Yep.
EMS benches.
Yeah, that'd be super cool.
And then you can sit on them and get a freaking ulcer.
Yeah. I challenge. We should. Oh, that'd be fun. Instead of the ice bucket challenge, we should do the backboard challenge. See how long somebody can lay on a backboard. And
just sign the disclosure or sign the whatever, so that
sign a waiver.
Sign the waiver for when you have to go to the hospital to get that ulcer fixed.
Yeah, yeah. Don't do that. It's a bad idea.
Get his ulcer fixed.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that more people didn't vagal out and wang their head from the ice bucket challenge was really impressive to me too. But there's no waivers for real life.
No, it was a crazy crash. Glad he was able to walk away.
Yeah.
But the armchair quarterbacking
it was fierce.
Man. Like I said, you're not there. You don't know what actually happened to him.
Yeah.
Obviously you read the reports afterwards. I mean, I know he had a broken scapula.
Yeah.
Which is pretty hard to break. So
yes,
he hit good.
And that C-collar probably did not feel good on it.
No, probably not.
But I mean yeah, I think we'll never get away from armchair quarterbacking because we do it on a daily basis. I mean,
we do.
And it's not
not
even,
to.
Yeah, we try not to, but I mean, I think that asking questions about somebody's call comes across perceived as armchair quarterbacking.
True.
And, I think it's all in how we phrase our conversation about a patient back and forth. So it's not taken like that. But with the realm of the World Wide Web, the WWW, I mean, there's no way to do that. So, I enjoy these because we get a good talking topic for more than
that's right.
more than 15 minutes. So.
No, and coming back to that, yeah, I think it is good. For me, if I'm asking questions because I want to learn, so
yeah,
and or I have somebody who presents a case to me because they want to learn and make sure that they didn't make a mistake or, they just want to know what they could do better. So,
yeah, no, 100%. And I think we do really good as a group where we're at about,
totally.
Framing our our topics as questions and, not armchair quarterbacking and being oh man, you were so dumb for thinking that. It's no, that's a very valid question, but why don't we think about it in this realm? But so yeah, I guess that's enough for our little brap conversation there for the old motocross fans out there.
That's right.
What else did we spitball for this evening?
We had just going through some Q&A stuff. Good question on trauma and vasopressors. Had a good discussion about some acidosis, and then wanted to throw in some paramedic life hacks as well.
I think that's great, but I'm excited about the vasopressor and trauma because that came from a really good friend of mine. I won't out her because that's just kind of I don't need to do that. Yeah. But I didn't get a chance to talk to her about this. So if she is listening, I want her to call me and give me some feedback on what we're going to talk about here a little bit. So this is a fun one for me.
I'd like it.
I'm excited. So
me too.
The realm of EMS in general does not carry blood.
Correct.
We are very lucky. We are very lucky as an air ambulance agency where we work to have blood in general. We work for a hospital-based system. We have access for blood. We get blood.
Yes.
That's great. The rest
not only blood. I mean, we get whole blood.
Yeah, we get whole blood, which is even better.
On top of most the nation's carrying PRVCs if they carry blood. The fact that we get to carry whole blood's just awesome.
Which we can break down whole blood versus PRBCs in another episode,
Yeah,
but I mean,
will.
like whole blood after administering it for my first time was a life changer.
It's
like,
so good.
It was incredible. But off of that, so the majority of the realm of EMS professionals never have the opportunity to administer blood.
Correct.
I mean, like they get blood when they get to a hospital if the hospital has it.
Yeah.
So trauma and vasopressors has always been like this, like, oh, we don't give vasopressors in trauma patients because we don't want them to bleed out faster. And that was the worst thinking that we could have thought of.
Yep.
Because I mean, like, what's going to happen? What are our H bombs? It's hypoxia, hypotension, and hypocapnia, right? And so too fast of a respiratory rate. Like, what can we combat? We can combat hypotension, hypoxia, and hypocapnia by having adequate volume status. But the only way for some of these providers is to give a vasopressor to keep them from getting a secondary brain injury. We already had the first brain injury, right?
Correct.
Or the initial injury.
Potential, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, we need to keep them normotensive. So why don't we, you know, allow for permissive hypotension, but not to the point of where, you know, their MAP is to a non-perfusable level where you're getting end organ damage per se.
Right. So we got to keep that MAP above 65.
Yeah, exactly. So whether that's at a systolic of 80 or 90, that's still fine, but we want to keep those organs perfusing. So I think of vasopressors as a bridge to blood is our biggest thing. And so giving a vasopressor in trauma patients should not be a scary thing as long as you have bleeding controlled. I mean, if they're grossly hemorrhaging, get your tourniquet on, do these things, but don't be afraid to administer your push dose epinephrine, your push dose vasopressin, start a vasopressin drip. If all you have is Levofed or something like that, that's great. I mean, like, you're only going to be using that for a short period of time to keep them alive, because I mean, like, that is our end goal, is to keep our patient alive. And if we can't do that because, you know, we're not giving a vasopressor and we're turning their blood into Kool-Aid with, you know, crystalloid, I'd rather have a liter of crystalloid and a vasopressor running when I get to a trauma center than like 6 liters of saline and having one oxygenated hemoglobin running around like freaking whatever the little robot is from you know, Star Wars, R2D2, his little screen. I'd much rather give that vasopressor early and keep them perfusing and reduce our chance of end organ damage than, you know, hope that I'm going to have blood within the next 60 or golden hour, right?
Correct. And so, again, obviously, if you carry blood, I mean, it's a little bit different topic, but I mean, don't be afraid to resuscitate with that blood, right? If you're questioning it, then you should probably already be doing it. But no, I think the vasopressin or vasopressor is definitely a great option. I prefer epi or vasopressin itself.
Yeah.
The nice thing about just doing epi, even push dose epi, right, is with that trauma, you have to think too, what's the chance of some spinal cord injury as well? So maybe they don't have any of that vasoconstriction, maybe, you know, if they do have some sort of neurologic shock, right? Some neuroshock going on.
Yeah.
So there's definite times, and you got to be paying attention to that. Obviously, if signs of neuroshock, you know, you're going to have that slower heart rate. You should have that slower heart rate. But I think that, yeah, we can't be afraid to use pressors.
Yeah.
Trauma.
And, you know, you bring up neurogenic shock, and the number one treatment for neurogenic shock is like norepinephrine or epi.
Yeah.
And so
the last time I talked to one of my favorite trauma surgeons around, had a good discussion with him, was his recommendation was epi over norepi was straight epi.
Oh, nice.
So
yeah. And you know, that's another topic for another day, is picking the appropriate pressor. But I mean, like, you got to use what you got to use to get your patient there alive. And, you know, whether it's vasopressin, epi, I just lost
norepi,
dopamine, whatever you have in your bag. Hopefully it's not dopamine.
Hopefully not dopamine. Hopefully definitely not dobutamine.
Yeah. Please no.
Yeah.
But, it's just one of those things that, we have to demystify this, because giving vasopressors in trauma is okay.
It is.
Like it's okay.
Obviously, again, number one for your trauma and your hypotension and your stuff is going to be filling the tank up.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to have.
You got to have a full tank. So you're going to do your best to fill that tank, right?
And
remember, when we're giving our fluid boluses too, it's another thing that we struggle at in EMS. I think it's like, okay, we're going to give a bolus, and like, what's your bolus? Especially like I never run in scenarios and doing stuff like 250. 250 is not a bolus. That's
a tickling your foot with a with a bottle of Dasani.
Yeah, right. So if you're going to do a bolus, I mean, do a full bolus.
Yeah, 1,000 mLs.
Yeah, do a liter.
Yep.
Do your 20 mLs per kilo.
Yep,
minimum.
You talk about a full tank, and one of the ways that and it's not that I disagree with the completely full tank, because I think the full tank, when you don't have blood, could have its potential side effects.
It does.
Hemodilution.
Correct.
Right. So I like to think of it at kind of, and this just kind of came to me, was like the partially full, or like the 3/4 full tank. Get them that volume that they need.
Yes.
But try not to overshoot it too much.
Get them off of empty.
Yes.
Get them off of empty.
Yeah.
Right. And then
take the wife's car to go get it filled up a little bit.
Make the tank a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
With those pressors.
Yeah. Because that's the whole, battle of the cardiac output, stroke volume times heart rate, and, afterload, preload, and all these other things that we have to kind of work on when we're doing these patients. But like we said, get them that. I don't know why I started off on this tangent and then kind of had a brain fart just like you, but we have to encompass all of those, realms of the treatment path to be able to get their blood pressure up. So you also have to remember, like, if they're super tachycardic in this trauma patient and all these other things, that's usually because they're either in pain or they've got low volume and they're compensating. And so as you're giving this volume plus your vasopressor, you're going to see some of these vital signs start to normalize and hopefully make you feel a little bit better about your treatment path in the end.
Yeah. And that's not the end goal, right? You're not going to fix them with your pressor.
God, no.
Right? But you're going to help avoid those H-bombs. You're going to just be able to get that patient to where, that we can start some mass transfusion protocols in the hospital, or till your critical care team arrives and hopefully has some blood that they're going to give them as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And then, but also don't forget like your other parts of the treatment, like your TXA, your calcium and things like that. And, because you encompass all that together, you're going to be worlds ahead getting to that trauma center, like 100% of the time. And one of the things that I really liked about coming from a non-blood carrying agency is they basically told us was like, if you're giving TXA, give calcium. Because there's a calcium ion attached to basically every step of the clotting cascade.
Gotcha.
So because that, they have lost however much blood, you need to start that calcium replacement early. Even though we didn't have blood to give them and do the calcium replacement with the blood, we were still giving, calcium chloride or, a weight adjusted calcium gluconate for, our trauma patients.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Just because you don't have blood doesn't mean that you can't continue that, because we give calcium for multiple reasons. It's one, to improve clotting factors, and then, to try and kind of combat some of the citrate toxicity and things like that with the blood that we give. But
I was
primarily those clotting factors.
Throw that in for providers that don't use blood, and understanding why that if you're giving blood, you're going to be giving calcium, just because, like you just said, with the citrate that's used in the blood to help kind of store it and preserve it, it attacks calcium. So anytime we're giving these guys whole blood or just blood products, they have to get calcium with it as well.
Yeah. No, and I'm glad that we brought up just kind of the finishing of the treatment of it, not just the pressors, but if you start to encompass all of these things into your trauma care, it's going to shoot through the roof. I mean, it's just one of those things that we don't typically sit back as like our normal ambulance paramedic on the truck, go out on a nasty wreck. It's just like, okay, I'm going to give them a liter of fluid, hope that their blood pressure stays up, and then pray to God that they're still alive when we get to the ER. So,
yeah. And it's, some stuff we don't think about. Like, I didn't know a lot of this just on the truck. So,
yeah. Oh,
didn't know we gave calcium with blood.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't know any of it.
Nope. Don't
like,
know
to
what
be
you don't
completely
know.
honest. I mean, like, our basic fundamentals, I mean, like Chuck and I talked about it quite a bit on the last episode of like the similarities in our procedures, but the knowledge base is drastically different. And then as we grow in our career and learning all these things that we do and why we do it is why I love doing this job.
Absolutely.
Not only taking care of patients, but helping people get better. Right. So, yeah. So there's the demystification by SB for T on vasopressors
Can you
and
give
trauma.
pressors and trauma? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? Get the tank off empty, and then, like you said, squeeze the tank.
Yep. You got to keep their organs perfusing if you want them to survive, because the last thing they need to do is get end organ perfusion issues, end up in DIC, and, basically seizure, coma, death.
That's right.
Like real fast.
Yep.
Everything ends in seizure, coma, death. So
everything ends in DIC, seizure, coma, death, right?
Yeah,
if you take our class, you'll find that out.
Yep. DIC, seizure, coma, death. That's the pattern we all die in. So, but yeah, so there's the demystification. And, I hope flight nurse contacts me and, because I'd love to expand more on it if we needed to. But, I think we covered a lot of the fundamental basics of why we do it.
Absolutely. Another thing to touch on was we talked about push dose epi and that.
Yeah.
So
push dose epi is great.
Yeah. So for me, and I don't know if we covered this in another podcast, but that's okay. Mixing your push dose epi, some of the best ways to do that. My favorite way personally is taking 1 ml or 1 milligram of your 1 to 1,000 push dose epi or epi. Sorry, not push dose epi. 1 to 1,000 epi, right? And putting that in a 100 ml bag.
I love that.
Because now you have 100 mLs of push dose epi.
Yep, and then you just drop, correct me if I'm wrong, you just drop the amount of cc's you want. So if you want 20 micrograms, you drop 2 mLs. Because that would put it at a 10 mic per ml.
Correct. It's 10 mic per ml at that point.
Yep.
So, if you're doing 20 or 30 mic for your push dose, then 2 or 3 mLs.
Mm-hmm. Which would be great, especially when we're constantly in epinephrine shortages and can't get cardiac epi to save our lives most of the time. Yeah. So,
the other way you can do it is you can take your cardiac epi, so your 10 ml syringe of your cardiac epi that you get, right? And basically you push out 9 cc's of it, draw up 9 cc's of NS, and now you have 10 cc's of push
10
dose
mics
epi.
per ml.
So it's 10 mics per ml. It's the same concentration, but it's a heck of a lot easier to throw in a 100 ml bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
the only difference I do
times.
there is I take 1 ml out of a saline flush and drop 1 ml of my 1 to 10,000.
Perfect.
That way I have 9.
That's probably the smarter way to do it.
9 subsequent syringe fulls if I need it. So.
Yep. And the nice thing too is, you can, with that 100 ml bag, you're using it to push dose epi, and then if you have to throw it on as an epi drip, you can throw it on. You're going to run through it pretty quick because it's only the 10 mics per ml.
Yeah,
but it can definitely bridge the gap while you're mixing up an actual true epi infusion. So
yeah, I am just refreshing my brain here on push dose vasopressin here really quick because push dose vasopressin for you people that have never used vasopressin, I'm sorry. It's got its own receptor V1. So basically it's one of the best things in trauma because it keeps our distal tubules kind of fuller, keeps our fluid retained. It does. Doesn't allow us to pee off our
acts on the kidneys and it helps retain fluid. So it is important.
You said that much more gracefully than I did. Thank you.
I got you.
But push dose vasopressin is great because you can just use 9.5 mLs of saline, drop a 0.5 ml of vasopressin because it pretty much comes in a standard dose. I think they're 10 unit vials.
I don't remember.
If I remember correctly, they're 10 unit vials. So then you give 4 mLs. So you basically give 4 units at a time.
Gotcha.
As your push dose vasopressin, and it works really good. So. Just one of the things, like if you're giving push dose vasopressin, just think in terms of 4 units, more or less than anything. So.
Gotcha. No, that's good because I haven't had to use vasopressin in a long time.
Yeah, that's one of my big things that I want to
Other than the only downside to vasopressin is cost. It's way more expensive than, you know.
But the fact that I'm just going to stop there on cost.
Go for it.
Because we used to carry 40 units of vasopressin at a time.
Correct.
For cardiac arrest. And it was given the first and or second dose during our cardiac arrest algorithms. It was. And now they're all pissy about cost. And this is nationwide. This is nationwide, right?
You make a very valid
We used to carry 4 times the amount than we actually need. We gave 40 units at a time.
Yeah.
Like
we did the old ACLS.
Yeah.
What was that, like 3 or 4? Oh gosh, I've been in EMS too long.
that was ACLS circa 2010ish, 2014.
Okay. I've done ACLS way too many times.
Yeah. So I mean, it's been a hot minute since it's been in there, but I mean, like, you know, it's just like the whole cost issue thing is just mind-boggling to me. Anyways,
fair enough. No, you make a very valid point. And actually, at this point, shouldn't somebody else be making vasopressin? Like, shouldn't that 10-year? Do they have 10 years of?
They should have
for their drugs.
Yeah.
Right. Like Tylenol. You know, now you can get acetaminophen anywhere for a lot cheaper.
Yeah. If I need to go down to Mexico and buy some vasopressin, I will. But like,
well, somebody should be making it cheaper, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the way it works. They have their however long they get.
Yeah. Let's look up how much vasopressin is really quick while we go on to the next topic.
I like it. So next topic, I think. Heartburn. What do you got?
The average cost of vasopressin is $520 per 20 units. So I think they come in 20 unit vials, if I remember now correctly. So yeah, it's 20 units per 1 ml. So you'd be putting 10 ml, 10. So you'd make it a 1-to-1.
1-to-1.
Yeah. So 10 units, 1 unit per ml, give 4 units at a time. But $520 average price for 1 vial of vasopressin when we used to carry 4 of them. So 2 of them at least. So
at least 2.
But anyways, so off that derailment of Sam's brain there for a minute, where are we going next? Where are we heading to? We talked about trauma and vasopressors, C-collars. How much worse could I make this right now?
I don't know. Let's see who else we can make, man.
It's the name of the game, man.
Right? No, I had a good conversation with a coworker friend about basically acidosis, treating some acidosis.
Yeah.
So they had
treating acidosis is hard.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Right. It's great on the critical care side, especially when you get to see all the lab values and know what you have to correct and how you should do that. But as a paramedic on the truck doing a scene call, you don't have any of that. So they get to I think it was a status seizure patient, right? End up having to intubate him because it's been going for like 15 minutes at least, probably. So get him intubated. Initial end title is like 80, right? So recognizes it. Yeah. Hey, like 80's bad. That's not good, right? We need to get that down. So does a good job. Gets him on the vent after they intubate him, and
the fact that they're starting to use the vent more makes my heart happy.
Oh, me too. I love the vent.
Even though it's an AutoVent 3000, we'll touch that. But anyways, continue on.
But no, does a good job. Ends up bringing down that end title, gets it to normal levels, gets it below 45, gets the patient to the hospital, does a handoff, and then sees the first lab value, and then it goes like, oh, I did a bad job. Like, his pH is 7.1. Like, what did I do wrong?
That's the reverse of a bad job. So while you talk some more, I'm going to do some math here.
That's good. So talked to him, went through him, and went through the math as far as treating acidosis, and as far as just vent settings and how, kind of how we do stuff now is kind of focusing on that minute ventilation. For us, minute ventilation is king, and it helps us just kind of take some of the math out of it and take some of the guesswork, not the math.
Yeah.
We use the math to take the guesswork out of it. So it's not just like some wild ass guess that we're trying to figure out how to put the patient on the vent. But if we can figure out what we think their minute ventilation needs are going to be, what their metabolic needs are going to be, then, again, we can do a little math and take the guesswork out of it. So
Yeah. No, I mean, like, the math is good. And that's, I mean, like, that's where we came up with, like, our golden rules section is so we can kind of tailor that math in and, have a formulated calculation. And I'm having a real brain fart right now. And I can't remember if it's 0.8 or 0.08 that it changes. It's 0.08.
For
every 10 in CO2.
Yeah.
For pH. It's 0.08, right?
0.08.
Yeah. I don't know why my brain's so farty tonight, but I mean, like, let's say that this cat started off with a CO2 of 80, and we do reverse math here just to see what his initial, ABG was. Okay. Yep. So if he starts off with CO2 of 80, that's a 40 point jump. So 4 groups of 10. So if we do 0.08,
ooh, I like it.
Yeah, we're going to do 0.08.
So we're taking the patient's end tidal of 80, and we're going to subtract a normal end tidal, which is 40, which is going to give us 40. All right, so we're going to take that 40 and multiply it by 0.08, right, because our pH moves in the opposite direction. This is going to give us 0.32. So a normal pH of 7.4, now we subtract that 0.32, is going to give us what?
Before this provider even made patient contact and they recognized his CO2 as 80, his initial pH roughly was a 7.08. So even bringing him down to a 45 improved his overall pH balance. We didn't need it. We didn't get enough yet, which you'll probably talk about.
Yes.
But to the point of where it actually made a pretty significant change. So go ahead. Let's hear your math. Like,
yeah, no, exactly. So, for him, and I told him that oh, that's great. Got a CO2 down. You're treating that respiratory acidosis, right? You don't know what his pH is. And in a 8-minute transport to the hospital, you're not going to fix it.
No.
Right. So
this is a long process.
Yes. It takes a while to fix. All right. So the biggest math we went over was more on the minute volume.
Yeah.
And how we should be treating these patients on the vent, right? And what our kind of minute volume goals for this patient would be. So we figured out, we went in and got his height, figured out his ideal body weight, which was, I'll have to bring that up. Bring it up. So talking about the math, figured out his ideal body weight, which came up to 67 kilos is what I think we decided for this patient was 67 kilos.
Yeah.
So from there, then we decided, okay, what is this patient's metabolic needs?
Yeah.
Right. So without knowing the fact that he's, the extent of his severe respiratory acidosis, right? We figured out that we understood that he was going to be in respiratory acidosis.
Yeah.
We know we got to him and his end tidal was like 80. So, okay, he's going to be acidotic. He's going to have some pretty high metabolic demands going on. So we said, let's just start. He's going to need some higher volumes. So let's start with 150.
Yeah.
So
I think 150 for most of our patients that are extremely ill is a good starting point.
Yeah. So just a quick reminder, remember our minute ventilation for me and Sam, you sitting here watching this, right? You're anywhere from 100 or 80 to 100 mLs per kilo of ideal body weight. Yeah. That's your normal minute ventilation. That's for a perfectly healthy, we're just sitting here kind of person, right? Our patients that we see aren't like that. So I'm starting at 150. So we're going to take 67 and I'm going to times that by 150. Do the math.
Oh, I can pull up a calculator if you want to.
You're good. Do the math. Come up with, 10,050. So we'll call it 10 liters. Just call it 10,000. Okay. So that's I have a 10,000 minute volume need. Minute ventilation need.
Yeah.
So for me, got a young, healthy guy. I'm going to start at 8 mLs per kilo for my tidal volumes.
Yep.
Right?
I love
8's great.
Love 8. It's a great number.
6 to 8 is what we typically do to keep our lung protective strategy, right? Making sure we're not having too much pressure, especially if you're on something like an AutoVent 3000 where you can't monitor P-plats and pips and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Shooting for 8 mLs per kilo is great. I'm not going to shoot over that if I've got a Hamilton and other stuff. And
you can get a C-stat, an
and I know
RNs,
what
a
my
peak, a plat,
different
driving pressure,
Exactly.
liters per minute, like all of your stuff.
I get all this information. Sure, maybe I can shoot higher if that's what the patient needs. But let's shoot for 8. So 67 times 8, 536. So that is my tidal volumes I should be shooting for. 536. Right? You're on an AutoVent. So are you going to get 536 exactly? Hell no. So I personally go 550.
I don't think there is a 550. I would personally, because I think it goes 400, 600.
Does it go 400, 600?
Let me look.
Stupid AutoVents. Google that crap.
I am. We can buy it on Amazon. So yeah, our adult tidal volumes are in white. So I can't read all of them. Hold on, I need a better picture.
So I said enhance.
Enhancing.
Enhance.
Oh, we can buy it on eBay. The AutoVent 3000 is currently on sale for eBay for $349.99. If anybody was wondering.
There you go.
Don't tell me it starts at 600.
No.
Because there's a 200, a 300 for pediatrics, but on the adult side, it goes 600, 800, 1,000, 1,200.
Shut up.
Dead nut serious, man. No wonder the RTs look at us like we're crazy when we bring a man starting out at 600. Like,
okay, well,
but I was going to say, I would overshoot personally and go with my 600.
Perfectly, which is what he did.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what he did. He was shooting 600. So 536, we know is 8 mLs per kilo. AutoVent, we can't do it, so we're shooting 600.
So he's probably shooting closer to 10 mLs per kilo of ideal body weight, right?
Probably 9. Let's see, 9 times 67 is 603. So 9. Right? So I can't believe it starts at 600.
Which for the vast knowledge of people out there, please know that is well within the normal ranges of an adequate VT. So like there wasn't any, harm or, iatrogenic causes caused by starting at 600.
Oh no, I don't know how many times I've put somebody on a vent and they have awesome lungs.
Yeah.
And they're taking 1,500 ml breaths. So it happens. 600, yes, safe. I'm not worried about 600, especially in a young, healthy guy having seizures. So
anyways,
600, back to this. 600, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide my 10,000. I'm going to divide that by my 600. And that gives me a respiratory rate of 16.6666667. Right?
Okay.
So I'm going to shoot for probably just 17 on my respiratory rate. What are my options on the AutoVent?
For your respiratory rate, you have... Sorry, I was looking at other ventilators for us to buy. Your options are for an adult 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 20.
Cool. So there you go. I'm going to go 16. Rate of 16. Volume is 600. That's going to give me a minute ventilation of 9,600, which is pretty dang close to my 10,000 goal.
Yeah. And, with this technology, if I wanted to get closer to that 10,000, I would probably go as a rate adjusted more than a volume adjusted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just because I can't see pressures, to be completely honest.
No, I absolutely agree with that. The fact that it only starts at 6 is interesting.
Yeah.
I guess it's not too bad because probably most people would probably choose 4 or 500 if they had that option.
And you could
with
always,
a rate of 12.
Yeah, you could always set it to the pediatric mode if you wanted lower volumes. But this also speaks to how far off we can get, like in the in-hospital RT realm when we walk in and they've got a VT of 400. When you have the archaic, AutoVent 3000 starting at 600.
No, that's true.
Like
that's what I was just saying. Like, because if you started at 12 on your respiratory rate and you went to that minimum volume of 400, if it was available, right, your minute ventilation's only 4,800.
Yeah, which is less.
Which is crappy.
Yes, very crappy. But so, anyways, continuing on with this acidosis treatment,
Yeah.
it sounds like you did a really good job with just, basic ventilator management in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And just having that kind of discussion on, okay, minute ventilation is king.
Yeah.
And like, how do I choose that rate and how do I choose that volume? Take some of that guesswork out of it and just focus on what is this, patient's metabolic demand.
Yeah. And do the math.
Do the math.
Math is your friend when it comes down to ventilator settings. Yep. I mean, I get made fun of my chest desk all the time. I love my little kangaroo pouch that I have.
Chesticle.
Yeah, my little chesticle. But it's got my tape measure in it. It's got my ET tube cuff pressure checker. Like, I get an accurate height. I get my, it may take me 4 minutes longer at a sending facility or on a scene to get my ventilator set up, but I know my ventilator is set up.
Correct.
So do the math.
Yep. Do the math, and it's great. And then as far as, treating that acidosis, it's for us in the field with those short transport times, you're never going to correct somebody's acidosis, but you can start that process.
Yeah.
Right. What you can stop from happening is making it worse.
Yeah.
Right.
And he did a great job of that because
absolutely
you went from a guesstimated a pH of 7.08 to a 7.16 or something like that.
7.18.
7.18. So, a pretty drastic change in the positive direction of the direction we need to go. I'm proud of him. Kudos,
absolutely.
Man.
Absolutely. That's what I said.
Some of the things that I also want to talk about when it comes down to just the metabolic acidosis side of things, something like, I don't know if you have any more to talk about on that, but back in the days of the succinylcholine days and things like that, how do we treat this acidosis so we don't kill them?
Yep.
Don't forget to give your fluid bolus because they've been seizing. They're going to be hypoxic because, their cells are firing like crazy. Their muscles are using oxygen. They're in anaerobic metabolism. Aerobic metabolism. Crap. Anaerobic metabolism. So they're producing lactic acid.
Yes.
They're doing all of these things. And, then you're going to go on top, this is another realm why succinylcholine sucks. Then you're going to give them a depolarizing neuromuscular blocker, which is going to open those synaptic clefts and, cause their muscles to fire off, which again burns oxygen, all these things. So adequate oxygenation and, passive ventilation, nitrogen washing, and all these things are so important in the management of these acidotic seizure patients and, really acidotic patients in general, because, last thing we need to do is worsen their hypoxia, worsen their end organ perfusion, and do all these things that are going to make them decompensate. And that's why I love our high dose rock. I don't know why I got this on this tangent, but I was involved in that Facebook kind of string about a week ago. So
it's good
my
because
brain on
what
it.
else with your pH levels, what happens to your potassium, right?
You're going to have a transient increase.
Yeah. Right.
So
it goes the opposite direction. So if your pH is dropping, your extracellular potassium is going to go up.
Yeah.
So now you give sucks, which also increases what?
It's going to increase our potassium. We're going to have a 0.5 milliequivalent potassium shift or something like that. It's enough to push them over the
It's enough.
fence.
I've seen it. Watched it several times. Yeah. Right.
That was. We'll talk about our disasters.
I love the succinylcholine. With that, I also love you talking about that fluid bolus, right? Mm-hmm. And how, again, they're going to be with that acidosis. Think about, again, your lactic acid, right? What do you think this guy's lactic acid was?
I bet it was pretty high.
Give me a guess.
Or no.
Give me a guess.
Yeah. I don't know. It's probably greater than 1 at least.
Oh, get up there.
I'm going to go with a solid 4.
Add a 1 in front of that 4.
Really?
Yeah, buddy.
That's a brutal lactic acid.
It is.
That brings me to another question is what fluid do you choose? Do you choose lactated ringers, which has lactate in it?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you choose normal saline, which, God forbid we talk about hyperchloremic acidosis, both fluids have an opportunity of increasing either your lactic acid or just a primary acidosis.
Correct.
Where do you go? I don't think either one's wrong.
I don't think either one's wrong.
You just got to be
whatever
mindful.
you carry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that initial fluid bolus isn't going to be a big deal no matter what you choose,
No.
especially the initial one.
Yeah.
If you're getting into your 5th, 6th, 7th liter, whatever, depending on that then it's something to worry about. But
that's a good point. Good call out there. So, but yeah, no, this guy was sick.
Oh yeah, he was.
And
they did a great job.
That's also one of those ones where you're starting to look at, like a hypoxic induced encephalopathy or something like that, where like, you could come into this and have, cerebral perfusion issues where you're trying to auto-regulate and then you're seizing on top of it and your ICP's through the roof and all of these other things and you're going to be battling pressures. Like, this is a hard one.
It is.
But it's a fun one.
It's fun, and that's why I love medical, right?
Yeah.
But I think that was a good coverage of that specific patient, and especially with the airway management. One thing I'm going to throw back to that when you focus on that minute ventilation, right, is they did a good job probably initially with the BVM before they got them on the vent and getting that end tidal down.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have really good vent management and you focus on that minute ventilation and what that patient needs, you'll watch your end tidals like just fall into place.
Yeah. There's no more, what'd you call it, chasing the carrot?
Chasing the carrot is kind of how I've dubbed that term, is if you just focus on your ventilation to try to meet end tidal goals, it just doesn't work. But if you focus on what their minute ventilation needs are, then those end tidals just fall into place.
Yep. No, I love that. So overall, a really good job with that case, though.
Yep.
Like, I hope he's listening to this at some point and, gets a little pat on the back for himself. And, we'll throw him a pizza party or something like that.
But, no, I think we're going to let's throw a paramedic life hack in. Life hacks.
Oh, God.
It's been a little while since life hacks were super crazy popular, but I think a good paramedic life hack would be fun.
The ones that drive me nuts right now, like I watched one earlier because I got sucked into a TikTok hole. This lady put dried spaghetti into the blender and turned it into a powder to then add eggs back to it to make homemade pasta and called it a life hack.
That's quite the hack.
Yeah, like why not just take the time and cook the damn pasta? Like,
get some.
Let's
go get some flour.
Yeah,
right?
This is my life hack. I've got a box of pasta. I'm gonna cook it. Okay, the life hacks get so dumb, man. Anyways, I'm not prepared for life hacks, so hopefully you've got something in the chute.
Yeah, one of our favorite little life hacks, and just another acronym for you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Just something to think about, talking about intubating patients and putting them on vents and stuff like that. Our favorite acronym and life hack for that would be eat shit.
Yeah, eat shit, Isaac.
You eat shit. Okay, eat shit. ETTSHIT. What does that stand for, Sam?
All right, so basically this mnemonic came about because there are a lot of things that can go on a ventilator circuit, right?
Correct.
And which way they are ordered is of importance when people don't. There's people that don't think that it's of importance because you watch people put a suction catheter behind a HEPA filter, and like, how are you going to get a suction catheter behind through a HEPA filter? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So so this was a mnemonic that was brought to us, and it stands for endotracheal tube. So you're going to work from your patient back. So it's going to go endotracheal tube. You're going to put your suction device, your Ballard suction, your
Correct.
inline suction. Then it's going to go your HEPA filter for your H.
Yep.
So some form of heat moisture exchanger, HEPA filter, blah, 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 blah. The I is your inline CO2 connector.
Correct.
And because, don't even get me started on the argument I had one point that a HEPA filter will filter out CO2. That's a lie, because if it filtered out CO2, it'd be filtering out your oxygen that you're providing and all these other things. So,
Correct.
it will still read as
yes,
CO2.
It does. It reads perfect.
And then it goes your ventilator tubing. So endotracheal tube, suction, HEPA, inline CO2, and then your ventilator tubing.
Perfect.
Yep. And it's funny how many times I have to tell myself like I'm going to my vent patient, like, okay, got to set all this stuff up. So it's an easy, quick changeover, do my tube clamp, do all these fun things. And then it's just like making sure I'm like endotracheal tube, suction, HEPA, inline tubing. Okay, I eat shit. Go on.
Yep.
So, like,
nope, I eat shit all the time.
I just shipped my bed.
every time I put somebody on the ventilator, I do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's something I think about all the time now. So,
yeah.
nope, that's a quick little hack.
Yeah, man. That's
for
a good
everybody.
one. So, that's it, ladies and gentlemen, I think.
I think so as well.
Yeah.
Been at it for a minute, but
Yeah.
I hope that we were able to raise some hairs on the back of your neck, piss some people off, talking about how C-collars are stupid.
Yeah. Backboards are stupid, too.
Backboards are dumb. What else did we talk about? Vasopressors and trauma.
Oh, God.
Man.
That
been
right
good.
there is
Yeah.
going to set the world on fire for
I
some
hope so.
people. And I hope they call us out on it. Like,
Cool. Bring it.
yeah. Like, I
I'm
am
happy to have
not
that
afraid
debate.
to have a fight.
Yep.
And if you have, let me point out this, if you have a good case on why it's not good,
Yeah.
bring it to us. Like,
Absolutely.
I'd love to review it.
Yeah, anything. Same thing. If you can find me a really, really good study on C-collars and if they actually make a difference, cool.
Yeah.
I want to read it.
Yep. Send it our way. So, yeah, this was good.
Absolutely. So thank you guys so much for listening in. We will see you guys on the next one.